Hola everybody, my name is Toby and recently I went to Spain and well, I got a little bit inspired from doing that. So I built a Spanish house. Yeah, that's right, I built a house in the style of a Spanish building. And I'm going to show you exactly how to do that myself. But first of all, this is what I came up with without following any tutorial. Now, of course, after this video, this isn't what I'll end up with because this was just a practice run. It's a very big house. I'm just going to be taking you through how to build a much smaller house, which you can then adapt later on to build even bigger houses. So yeah, hope you enjoy this video, and please remember, leave any suggestions down below. Anyway, let's get right into the video. First step is to build up a palette. So you want one main block, one block that is part of your whole build, the main block that appears. And that's usually a lighter tone. Now I'm using sandstone, but you can use any light block such as smooth quartz, snow, white wool, anything. But I'm going to use smooth sandstone. You then pick another block. Now it has to be a little darker and a different colour. Now you can do anything, once again. I like to choose andesite, but you can choose something such as terracotta or spruce wood. You can do whatever you want. And finally you want a third block, and that's your roof block. And reddish coloured blocks are the best for Spanish houses, especially brick blocks. But you can mix things like granite or jungle, just planks in it. Do whatever you want. Anyway, those are my 3 blocks. Now, the next step is to build a very small protruding section. Now, this is a feature on almost every Spanish house. If you search it up, you'll usually find there's a small area that sticks out ever so slightly. Now, it usually has to be a square. You can make it rectangular, but I find it easier if it's a square. And you can do one of 2 roofs. Now, the favourite roof of mine is to build a roof like this that meets in the centre like so. And that's why I want it to be a square. But if you like, you could always do a triangular A-frame roof. However, as I said, I am going to keep it as the original square like so. Now this roof is very simple to make. You can use slabs or full blocks, but slabs tend to work best for this. Now you usually want to go fairly high up each time, but you do want to smooth it out like so it's not too abrupt. And you just want to slowly gradiate into the centre until you end up with a full block at the top. And once again, keep smoothing it out each time, usually like this. And you can end up with a fairly simple shape like so. And that's all you need to start off with. You only need this small section here to get you started, because everything else follows off from this shape. This is the main thing that's built around. So once you've done this, you can just do whatever you want. You need to build around the house. But I like to make sure that each wall is an odd number of blocks. Now, I like to vary it a lot. So for example, this goes out 11 blocks, but it's only 2 blocks in from here. While this one goes out about 7 blocks, while it's 3 blocks out. So vary it a lot, and then bring these walls, you can bring them higher or shorter than the main block. I'm going to build this one a little bit taller than the thing, but the other one is going to be just slightly shorter. Remember, you can use the fill command just to make this a tiny bit quicker, like so. And then this one is going to be a little shorter this time. I'm going to show you 2 roofs that look nice on these houses. The first one I'm going to build down like this. You just have to build in a diagonal and then get rid of the blocks you don't need afterwards. Now the second wall is probably the one you're more likely to use, because it does look best at the front of the house, but it's pretty much exactly the same thing. The only difference is you want to make sure it meets at the middle. And as you can see, It's basically an A-frame but with a slightly more shallow gradient. And remember, slight overhang at the end. And I find that this one works just slightly better on the front of the house. I prefer these ones to be at the side of the house. Another common feature of Spanish houses are overhangs that aren't actually on the edge of the wall. For example, these are actually typical of blacksmiths in real life, not just Spanish houses, but it's basically an overhang down here, and make sure it's supported by something such as a beam like this, and depending on how big it is, you may want some more in the center. So you can also have sections here where there's actually more of a visible foundation, and this just slightly separates it from the upper floor, gives it a bit of a foundation, maybe makes it appear as though it's got a little more support, and it also adds more colour, more variation into the build. And as I said, remember to vary it in height and depth. For example, this wall here goes lower than this wall, higher than this wall, and about the same height as this wall, and yet it also goes the furthest back out of this one. Also, Spaniards really like their arches in their houses. Take a look at this. And I find that a very nice pattern for arches is very simple like this. It's a single wall block, then a full block, then out by one diagonal there's a stair block, a full block, and repeat that on the other side. Makes it a nice smooth gradient, and it is a very lovely looking arch in my opinion. Also, I suggest making the hind areas of these places a different colour, just so the arches don't blend in too much and they create contrast with the wall behind it. And you can add any type of roof. You could add this type of roof, or however, I'm going to go with a roof similar to this A-frame here. I find it looks better as well if the peaks of the arches don't line up exactly. I just think it looks a tiny bit better. And then, since this wall here is a bit plain, you can add something like a wall or a window there, just to add a little bit of detail. Now, this is just one wall. We have so many to work with back here. So off camera, I'm just going to do a tiny bit of work. And the next step is now to add details. So I'm not going to go to texturing just yet, but I'm going to make some windows first off. Now, the windows are pretty easy. Now, you need to choose a colour. Now, I think that a light grey looks best, but you can use anything really. So long as it's nothing like pink or green, it looks best as a lighter grey or something like that. And I like the idea of shutters opening like this. And also we can get some colour by adding a little bit of grass, maybe some rose bushes or some poppies, and also some oak leaves as well, this part of it. And this just adds a little bit of colour and greenery into it. You could also make it so that there's just one big green vine or creeper on it. If you are going to use it to cover a wall, make sure you don't do it all over the house, just maybe one or two walls, because walls are hard to decorate sometimes, especially in this style, and it is a nice simple way to get out of it. But yeah, just keep on adding things like windows. If you don't want to add a window as in part of in one area, you can just add a small feature such as a sandstone wall, which just adds a tiny bit of depth. And as I've done in this house here, you can add a slight variation such as sandstone in the smooth sandstone and stairs to mix up the depth a bit. But just go around the whole build, adding occasional features. As you can see, I added a chimney here, and you'll find that it slowly begins to come together. And another common, very good looking feature is actually a balcony, because Spaniards do like their balconies, I must admit. On every single building I saw in Spain, there was a balcony. So yes, add a balcony and add a little tiny little bit of support. You don't really need too much, it's just so long as it looks like it is stable and it would fit onto the build without falling. And one thing you may want to add to this balcony is a little overhang. Now I like to use campfires for this. And yes, I know what you may be thinking. This looks awful. And it does. It looks absolutely dreadful. But what you can do is get a water bottle and splash it over the campfires, putting them out one by one until the only thing left is the wood itself. There is no more flame. But I find it does work quite a bit, especially if you add leaves dangling off it. Like so, because it just adds some colour and it does hide some of the campfire. Okay, and I've changed the palette completely. It still looks like a Spanish house, but it's a different palette. It looks perfectly fine. In fact, in a way it might look even better than this one because it looks a bit more contemporary and it works and it fits in a different scenario, but it's still a different Spanish house. And that just shows that it's completely customizable, and all you really need to do is follow this tutorial. Now, one thing I noticed about Spanish houses is that they're basically like suburban houses. They are a lot of different houses basically put together. They look like more than one house, and all you need to do to make them is start off with one small little box, then build out from there. Now, granted, they do use they use about 3 different designs of roof. There's the single diagonal slanted roof, the very almost flat A-frame, and then the sort of the slightly coned off triangular pyramid roof thing. And that's pretty much it, and you just build loads of these, put them together like a jigsaw, and it turns out really well. But yeah, this is the Spanish house, and adios, I'll see you next time. Goodbye. Ah, no, why did I sign up for this? No, I don't want this. Ah, no. What, who put this red banner on my head? No.